So you can simply click on this plus icon to be able to open a new drawing. Or you can just go over here and select a new drawing as well. There are multiple approaches for it again, right? Okay. Now over here, we'll be starting with drawing a rectangle. Now this time around, for drawing a rectangle, I'll not be using any grid mode or snap mode. I'll simply select rect command, hit enter, and give the coordinates from where I want to start my rectangle from. Okay, so I want to start it from 0, 0, 0. This is something that you can enter in the command line. Hit enter, and now the rectangle starts from 0, 0. Okay, so you can again draw a rectangle with various multiple methods. So I just did it from the command line. You can select an option from over here as well, wherein you can draw the rectangle from over here in the ribbon bar as well. Now, once the rectangle, you are in the rectangle command, you need to give the dimensions. So in this case, it's 180 mm. I'll just do it once again. Rectangle 0, 0. Okay, so in this case, it's 180 mm by 250 mm. Okay. Now, once your rectangle profile is drawn, we need to fillet it on this particular end and this particular end. So you can see that in the training guide, the corners that are filleted. And in this case, I'll be using the regular fillet command, not fillet, DM fillet. Okay, so I'll be using the regular fillet because it's a 2D sketch. So I'll enter the fillet command, hit enter. Before giving the fillet, I need to set the radius. By default, the radius is set to 10. However, I want to give a radius of 20. So I'll go to radius option over here in the command line. Okay, you can even type R, enter, or you can simply click on the radius. So this is something that you can do and enter the fillet radius to 20. So now the fillet radius is set to 20, and as soon as I do any fillet, it would be filleted with the radius of 20. And now I can select the entities on which I want to apply the fillets on. So just don't worry about when you place your icon or when you hover your cursor on the polyline, because it's a polyline, it would, you can see the entire selection that would be done. However, for, apply the fillet, just simply click on this edge and this edge. So it will apply the fillet automatically. Okay, so need not worry about the selection. Just select the edge between which you want to apply the fillets on, and BricsCAD would automatically detect these selection edges for you. Okay, selected edges for you. So I'll hit enter once again to be able to execute the same command, fillet. I'll select this particular edge and this edge now, and I just rounded off over here at a radius of 20. So these two are the sharp corners that I have, and these two are the rounded off or the filleted corners that I have in my drawing. Okay. The next portion is where we go to the surface interface. Okay, so you'll be seeing this particular surface interface in your BricsCAD software as well, wherein once you go into this, inside the create, we'll be having this particular region command, and just click on the region command, and it asks us to select entities or boundaries. Okay, so I'll select the entity for which I want to create a region and hit enter, and BricsCAD creates a region for me. So it basically creates a surface out of the closed entity that I have. Okay, so it's a zero thickness surface. So you can revolve and see what the surface looks like, how it is, and something that you can explore. So region basically does that. Now what region does also is consume the sketch which I drew. So now you no longer can see the sketch that I drew, but I want to reuse that particular sketch. Okay, so in that case, I'll not recreate or resketch the rectangle. In that case, what I will do is I'll just hover my cursor onto this particular surface. Okay, go to the chord menu, go to draw. Okay, once I'm onto my surface, I'll go to draw, and then there's an option called as generate boundary. So basically what it does is it creates polyline boundaries for hatches, boundaries, faces, or regions. So in this case, we have a region, and as soon as I click on this, it will create a boundary for me. Okay. Now you may not be able to see it, but it did create a boundary and something that you can assure from the command line over here, command line message. So it has generated boundary for one entity. We can also see the generated boundary from within the structure browser. So in case if someone is not aware of what the structure browser is, so that is something that you can access from the panels. Go to structure, okay, make sure this is checked. And over here, you have a polyline that we got generated using the generate boundaries. And then you have the region that we created using the region command. Okay, so region is something we will hide. You can hide it from within the window. You can hide it from just placing your cursor over here within the chord. However, I just use the structure browser to hide my region. Okay, now I can see the polyline that I just got extracted using the boundary command, right? Generate boundary command. The next thing that I'd be doing is extruding this particular boundary in the surface mode. So I can use extrude surface, or I can use the normal extrude as well, but I will set the mode to surface. So for example, I can simply go over here, go to extrude. Okay, now it's giving me a solid extrude. However, I want a surface extrude. So just go to extrude over here, go to mode. Okay, MO mode is what you can go to. So go to mode, and this time around, just select surface instead of solid and select the entity. So now when you do that and hit enter, you'll be able to extrude a surface out of it. Or simply, you can go to surface and select this particular extrude surface option, select the entity, hit enter, and extrude a surface out. So there are again various methods to achieve the same result. This is something that again you can explore. Now, the extruded surface needs to be at 60 mm length and a 40-degree inclination. So I'll enter -40 because I want the inclination outwards. So you can just press tab, okay, and hit enter. Okay, so I'll just be doing it once again. Let's go here. Sheet metal, sorry, go to extrude surface, enter the distance 60 -40 and hit enter. Okay, so this is the type of profile that I would get once I set the magnitude of the extrusion as well as the direction. So the magnitude is 60 and the direction is -40 degrees angle. Okay, something that is mentioned inside the user guide as well. Now you can simply hide the polyline as well, okay, and just unhide or show the region. So over here, there are two entities. One is the region and one is the surface extrusion. Okay. However, I want this to be a single entity. So I can do that by executing a command called as DM stitch. So what does stitch do is basically it combines surfaces or it stitches surfaces, as the command says, into one single body, provided the stitch is possible. Okay, so the geometry is visible. So I'll execute the DM stitch command, hit enter, select the entities to sketch. Okay, I'll select the entire entities. The entities in the set are 2. Okay, hit enter, and now you see only a single surface is present. The region and the extrusion surface are combined together inside one single surface. Okay, so this is something that you could confirm from the command line as well. I just could confirm it from the structure browser as well. So you just have one single surface now for you to utilize. The next thing is will be rotating the base face, okay, that we see over here. So right at the top corner. So we want to rotate this particular base face till the point, till this particular end point, giving this as an axis of rotation. So this is something that we can do. Okay, now this is something that we need to do to create our dust pan profile. And this is something that we can do with the help of a command called as DM rotate. Okay, so you can execute that command from within Solid as well. So you can have the rotate command over here. So you have rotate 3D entity about an axis, or you can simply hover over the surface, go to model, and you can access it, access the rotate command, that is rotate 3D solid on its faces. So I'll select the rotate command for this particular surface from the corner. Okay, now this is something that needs to be done very carefully, because since the geometry is big and the sizes are grids are adaptive, this is something I would request you all to pay attention to. So over here, I want to select this particular axis or edge for the rotation. So if I just place my cursor onto the lower end, it would rotate clockwise. I just place onto the upper end, it would rotate anti-clockwise with the same axis. So it entirely depends on my mouse positioning, whether I want to rotate it clockwise or anti-clockwise. Okay, so I want to rotate it clockwise. I just select on the lower end. And once I do that, it gives me a wheel to be able to enter the angle at which I want to rotate. Okay, over here, if I zoom in a bit, okay, I can simply go. Now, in case if it's not snapping for you, or if the size is too big, just zoom in a bit and you'll be able to see this particular rotation. Okay, just move it very slowly because it's very much adapted to the cursor movements. So in this case, now I do not know the angle at which I want to rotate the surface. So I'll just be selecting this particular endpoint. As I mentioned earlier, I want to be able to rotate it till this endpoint. I'll simply select this endpoint as a reference and just simply click it, and my surface is rotated at this particular angle. So the base of my dust pan is almost ready. Okay, so the first aim of creating a dust pan is fulfilled. Now the next part is wherein I need to create the handle for my dust pan. Okay, so for me to be able to do that, what I'll do is I'll create a rectangle on this particular surface. Now that rectangle needs to be not drawn by the ordinary rectangle, ordinary command that we have been using up until now. We'll select another way of drawing the rectangle called as polygon center side. Okay, so this will help us in mapping the rectangle onto that particular surface exactly the way we want it to map. So I'll select this particular option wherein I'm selecting polygon center side. Okay, so what it basically does is it would ask me what number of sides that I want my polygon to be. So since it's a rectangle, it'll be 4 number of sides. I'll hit enter. Now specify the center of the polygon. Since it's polygon center and then the side, I need to specify the center. So that would be the center of this particular profile. Make sure your dynamic UCS is on. So I'll select the midpoint of this particular surface. And now I can simply draw the rectangle onto this particular surface profile. Okay, so you can enter the width. The thing that is happening over here is my rectangle is rotating around across the axis. So I'll just press shift again to lock the rectangle at one particular axis. And now if you see, I move my cursor, you will not be able to rotate your rectangle. If I press shift again, now it will be free. Okay. If I press my shift again, now it will be locked. So now it's locked to that particular axis. So the dimension that I would be entering over here is 30. Hit enter, and you have the rectangular profile. Don't draw exactly on that particular surface. So this is the help of dynamic UCS. Whereas specifically in the CAD softwares that are available in the market, Inventor, SolidWorks, you need to be able to create a lot of planes, and this is where BricsCAD Mechanical is quite powerful in terms of the design freedom that you have inside the software. So coming back to the exercise, now you have this particular profile that is there with you. Okay, simply hover over this profile and again execute the same command, surface extrude. I'll select surface extrude, but now this time around I'll not be creating a surface, I'll be slicing a surface. Okay, so I have the option of slice over here, or you can also use the hotkey assistant. Okay, wherein simply by pressing control key, okay, you can toggle the options between auto, to create, to slice. Okay, you can do that from over here in the command line as well. You can do that from the hotkey assistant as well. So it entirely depends on you, what command, what type of selection that you would want to choose. So I'll simply select control, and now I'm into slice mode. Okay, once I'm into that, I'll simply enter distance till the position I want to slice it, and I'm good to go. Now, if you see, okay, I have two surfaces generated over here. Also in the structure browser, you see there are two surfaces that are generated because we have sliced a part out of it from this particular profile. Okay, so you can delete this profile. This is no longer required. And also this particular surface, you'd need to delete it because that is also no longer required. So you simply select that profile and delete it. So now I just again have just one single surface, right? Okay. Now the next thing, you need to be able to create a handle for your geometry. So what you need to do is simply just change the orientation, go to your blue selection box, okay, and simply select the edges this way, or you can also select it manually. So for example, I'll just select these three edges manually. Again, depends upon the type of selection that you do not want to do, and go to surface extrude once again. Okay. So if you see, the handle is now getting extruded from the plate, but at a very weird angle. Okay, because since it's the UCS is mapped onto that particular angle, it's getting extruded at a very weird angle. Now, in order to align it with one of the axes, we can use the direction command over here, the direction option, or we can use the align option. Now, something that I find very easy is to use align, because in direction, you'd have to select the snap points manually. So direction is what has been mentioned in the guide, but you can also use align. When if you click align, you can simply select align it with x-axis. So it will align the pan with x-axis. Now you see the change in the angle that has happened. So it is aligned with x-axis, and enter the distance of the extrusion 250 and hit enter. Okay. So now the alignment is done, the extrusion is done with the distance that I would want. The next step of closing this particular handle is simply select this edge. That's very easy. Again, go to extrude. We'll extrude it in this direction till this particular end point. So this particular handle is closed. Okay. Now, keeping ergonomics in mind, the handle needs to be at a certain angle. Okay, so if I need to rotate the handle of this particular dustpan, I can simply select the surfaces that I want to rotate. Okay, I've just selected all the 4 surfaces. Again, use the DM rotate command, or you can simply hover over here and choose the rotate command. And now the entities are there. You need to select the actual entity that along which you want to rotate. So I want to rotate across this particular axis. That's the axis. So I'll select this. Okay, over here, you just get one option of rotating it clockwise because the other end is not possible, or you need to select it from the downwards direction. However, I'll just select this particular direction over here. And once you do, so you can rotate it across. Now, again, the snaps are very high. So you need to be very careful while entering the distance of the rotation, or it should be possible to create geometries for that particular reference. So you can simply enter the distance of the rotation that you would want to have. So you can simply enter 12. So I'll just do it once again. Okay, so simply enter the distance 12. And now my dust pan is ready. Okay, so I was able to rotate it at an angle of 12 degrees as mentioned in the guide, and 90% of my model is ready. The next part is wherein we'll be creating fillets for my dust pan. So I just hover over this particular surface using the same selection methods. I'll be selecting the edges of this particular rectangular profile. I'll go over here, go to select and select the edges of the rectangular profile that I have, and select the vertical edges as well, like is just mentioned in the PDF. So my edges are now selected, and I can simply use the DM fillet command, enter a 6 mm fillet format profile. Okay, so the fillets have now been executed. Likewise, I'll execute the same fillet command for this particular edges as well for my dustpan. I'll hit enter again. Sorry. DM fillet again. Okay, and the radius for this particular fillet is 25. So that's done. So I have my fillets over here onto the base plate as well. Okay, and once this is ready, in case if you have 2 profiles over here, just make sure you do it into one single profile using DM stitch. However, I'm just having just one single profile, but I can still use the DM stitch command so that I can just be sure of that the surfaces are stitched. As of now, the entities are just one, so I'm already sure that the surfaces are stitched. However, just you can simply use the DM stitch to make sure that the entire surfaces are stitched together into one single profile. Okay, now once that's done, you can use the thicken command to enter or to give a thickness to your plate. Now remember, all the surface geometries that we have just created or modeled are with 0 mm thickness. Okay, they are just plain surfaces. Now, actual geometries cannot come with 0 mm thicknesses. So in order to give a thickness to my plate over here, I'll use the DM thicken command. So use execute the command DM thicken. Select the entities for which you want to give the thickness to, and enter 2 mm thickness over here. Okay, and as soon as you enter 2, you could see there's a thickness that has been assigned to your dustpan all across the geometry. So you can very well verify this. Okay, this is something that you can have it in your model. Okay, now once that's done, of course, as we did change the properties for our base model in drawing 1, that's the direct modeling. I'll just select this entire model here, go to its color, make it green, so you can choose the type of color that you would want to have, and also change the transparency of the dustpan to just make it more rendered. Okay, so I'll just set the transparency to 50, and now my dustpan is ready. Okay, so this was another exercise for you all to get started on the surface commands that are there available in BricsCAD Mechanical. So that basically covers the first exercise, and I'd just like Anna to help us with the breakout room.
Download BricsCAD today and start your free 30-day trial.